You notice them almost without meaning to. A small line of ants, threading their way along the edge of your wall or across the kitchen counter. Tiny bodies, moving with quiet determination, almost invisible until you pause long enough to truly see them. For most people, this moment is nothing more than a passing inconvenience. A quick gesture of the hand, a spray bottle, a sigh of irritation, and the matter is forgotten. Just another small disturbance in the rhythm of an ordinary day. But in that exact moment, before your reaction takes form, something subtle unfolds. Your awareness flickers. Your heart pauses. You sense an unexpected presence in the room, not large, not overwhelming, but quietly insistent. It is as if creation itself has drawn your attention towards something you were not supposed to ignore. Sufis often say that the signs placed in your life do not shout, they whisper. They appear not through grand events or dramatic visions, but through the smallest of details, the kind most people overlook. Ibn Arabi, who spent his life teaching the deeper language of existence, would remind his students that the world is always communicating with you, whether you are aware of it or not. He believed that even the movement of a tiny creature could carry a message from the unseen realm. Yet most of us rush past these moments. We label them as random, routine, meaningless. Just ants, we tell ourselves, as if the creator of the universe designed anything without intention. But what if this moment is not merely about insects entering your space? What if it is one of those quiet spiritual openings that arrive unexpectedly? What if the ants have crossed into your home at a time when something inside you is shifting? Something that requires your attention, your reflection, your willingness to see beyond the surface. There is a reason the heart pauses when it notices them. It is an ancient instinct, one that Sufis describe as the soul recognizing something familiar. Not familiar in the sense of memory, but familiar in the sense of meaning. As though your inner world already knows that these ants carry a message meant for you, and perhaps it is not a message you would ever expect to receive. After all, we assume divine signs must come in dramatic forms. A dream, a powerful moment during prayer, a feeling of sudden clarity. Few imagine that a sign could walk into your home on 6 small legs. But Ibn Arabi would disagree. In his teachings, he often emphasized that God hides profound truths in the simplest forms, so that only the heart prepared to see will notice them. Everything speaks, he taught, but only the one who listens will understand. To him, the entire universe is an unfolding script written by the divine hand, and nothing in that script is accidental. You stand before that script now, in the quiet presence of ants crossing your threshold. The question is not whether they belong there. The question is, why now? What has changed in your life that requires this sudden reminder? Why would such a small creature be appointed to deliver a hint of something larger? This is where the journey begins. Not with answers, but with awareness. The moment you shift from destroying the ants to observing them, the meaning begins to unfold. Their presence becomes a mirror, a sign, a subtle doorway into deeper understanding. Because in Sufi thought, nothing enters your home or your life without purpose. And these ants, though small, may be carrying wisdom that touches the very fabric of your spiritual path. We will explore this meaning further, but for now, allow yourself to hold the question gently. What might these ants be trying to show me? When Ibn Arabi spoke about the world, he did not describe it as a collection of random events scattered across time. He described it as a living tapestry, every thread placed with intention, every movement echoing a deeper truth. To him, existence was not silent. It was a continuous revelation, a language spoken by the Creator to those willing to listen. This is why he would often say, "There is no such thing as coincidence. Every event is the unfolding of divine wisdom." If you view the world through this lens, even something as small as ants entering your home becomes meaningful. Not because the ants themselves carry supernatural power, but because their arrival is synchronized with your life in a way that invites reflection. Their presence enters your awareness precisely when you need to see them. Not a day earlier, not a day later. Modern thinking tends to separate everyday events from spiritual significance. We explain things through weather patterns, instinctual behavior, or environmental shifts. There is nothing wrong with those explanations. They are part of the outward reality. But the Sufis teach that every outward cause has an inward meaning. Biology explains the motion. Divine wisdom explains the timing. Imagine two people noticing ants in their home. One sees only insects. The other, trained by the Sufi path to observe the signs within creation, pauses and wonders, "Why would this appear in my life right now? What is being reflected back to me?" This difference in perception is precisely what Ibn Arabi called the two eyes, the eye of the body and the eye of the heart. The eye of the body sees the physical event. The eye of the heart sees the wisdom behind the event. You too are invited into this way of seeing. Perhaps you have been experiencing a period of uncertainty. Perhaps your days feel scattered, or you feel disconnected from your purpose. Perhaps you've been asking God for guidance, quietly in your prayers or silently in your heart. And then, without warning, these ants appear, moving in harmony, following a path, carrying their burdens with patience and unity. They are not here to frighten you or inconvenience you. They are here to awaken something within you. When Ibn Arabi analyzed events in the world, he did not ask, "How did this happen?" He asked, "Why was this chosen for me?" That subtle shift transforms the way you interact with life. The moment you begin to see events as chosen by divine wisdom, you realize that the world is responding to your internal state. A story from his teachings tells of a student who once complained that his life felt stagnant. Nothing was moving forward, nothing felt meaningful. Ibn Arabi simply replied, "Look at what God is showing you through the small things. Your path begins with what you ignore." The student later confessed that he began paying attention to details he once dismissed. The wind changing direction, a bird nested near his door, and even the behavior of insects. Through those small observations, his inner clarity slowly returned. This is the essence of Sufi insight. When ants come into your home, you are being given the same opportunity. Their appearance is aligned with a specific moment in your life, a moment where God may be calling your attention toward order, sustenance, patience, inner reflection, or preparation. The 5 signs that unfold through their presence. In the chapters ahead, we will look at these signs one by one. But before that, take this moment to let Ibn Arabi's teaching settle in your heart. Nothing in existence moves without a reason. Every sign is an invitation. Every creature speaks. And the question now becomes, what are the ants speaking to you? When ants enter your home, the first and most immediate sign they may carry is a quiet reminder about order, not just in your physical space, but in your inner world as well. Ants are beings of discipline. Their movement is not random, their tasks are not scattered, and their purpose is never forgotten. They move with precision, following paths known only to them, governed by a natural harmony that reflects greater divine order. In Sufi thought, everything that appears in your life mirrors something inside you. And when ants appear, one possible meaning is this: your life has drifted away from its proper rhythm, and you are being gently guided back toward balance. Think about the days when your routine becomes chaotic, when prayers slip away, when responsibilities pile up, when your mind is overwhelmed by too many unresolved thoughts. In such moments, your inner world becomes like a room where everything is out of place. You function, but not with clarity. You move, but without direction. You work, but without peace. Then suddenly, these small creatures appear, moving with order, unity, and purpose. It is no coincidence. Ibn Arabi taught that creation reflects the divine attributes, and ants are expressions of the name Al-Mudabbir, the one who arranges all affairs. The harmony of their movement echoes the harmony God desires for your life. Their discipline mirrors the discipline you may be lacking. Their structure reveals the disorder you may have ignored. Perhaps you have been trying to manage too many things at once. Perhaps your energy has been scattered, your intentions diluted. Perhaps you have been feeling like everything is slipping through your fingers, no matter how hard you try to hold it all together. In such seasons, ants enter your space not as a nuisance, but as a mirror. Consider a simple example: a person whose life has grown increasingly cluttered, dishes undone, tasks postponed, responsibilities avoided. It's not the clutter itself that harms them, but the underlying state of their heart. Their priorities begin to blur, their days lose shape, their purpose becomes distant. And when ants begin to appear in their home, the person, without realizing it, is being shown a reflection of their inner state. The Sufis say, the outer world reveals what the inner world conceals. This is why the arrival of ants can be a sign urging you to reorganize your life, not through harsh discipline, but through gentle, intentional steps, a call to restore structure, to realign your habits, to return to your prayers, to clean not only your space, but your thoughts, to put things back in their proper place. Ants teach you that order is not just a matter of cleanliness. It is a spiritual rhythm. It is the foundation that allows blessings to settle, clarity to rise, and peace to enter. So ask yourself, where has your life become disorganized? Which responsibilities have you set aside? What habits have you abandoned? What part of your inner world feels scattered? If ants have entered your home, it may be a reminder that your life, like theirs, needs a path, a purpose, and a renewed sense of direction. And now we move deeper, from order to sustenance, because the next sign ants may carry is one that touches every human heart, the question of provision. When ants appear in your home, one of the deepest signs they may carry is a reminder about sustenance, the flow of provision in your life. In the spiritual tradition, ants have always been linked to the divine name Ar-Razak, the provider, the one who sends sustenance to all creation, from the largest creature to the smallest. And perhaps This is why their presence often coincides with moments when your heart is quietly concerned about livelihood, finances, or the stability of your future. Watch the way ants move. They search tirelessly, but never in panic. They gather, but never in greed. They store, but never in fear. Their entire existence is rooted in a delicate balance of effort and trust. They do their part, yet their hearts, if they had hearts like ours, would know that their sustenance ultimately comes from God alone. In a world filled with anxiety about income, success, and stability, ants appear as small teachers reminding you of something profound. Sustenance is not created by your effort. It is delivered by God through your effort. There is a difference. You move your hands, but the blessing is written by Him. You seek opportunities, but the outcome is decided by Him. You take steps, but He carries you to the result. Many people notice ants during moments of financial pressure, a month where bills weigh heavily, a time when work feels uncertain, or a period where fear whispers that the future may be unstable. And in those moments, ants enter quietly, carrying crumbs far heavier than themselves, reminding you that the one who provides for them is the same one who provides for you. Ibn Arabi often spoke about risk, divine provision, as something that chases a person even when they try to flee from it. He said, "Your sustenance knows your name. It will find you even if you hide from it." This is why the Sufis never viewed sustenance as a product of struggle alone. They saw it as a relationship between the servant and the provider. To deepen this reflection, imagine a man constantly worried about money. Every day he fears losing what he has. Every night he lies awake thinking of what may never arrive. His heart becomes tight, his days heavy. Then, in the midst of this emotional burden, he notices ants moving through his home, carrying their tiny forms with strength, storing food with confidence, and working without the slightest fear of tomorrow. He pauses, and in that pause, a quiet message begins to form. It is as if God is saying, "Do not be afraid of what is already written for you. Your sustenance is arranged with wisdom, just as theirs is." Perhaps you have been living with a similar heaviness. Perhaps your heart is tired from worrying about what you cannot control. Perhaps you've forgotten the countless times provision came to you from places you never expected. The ants remind you of this truth. Sustenance is promised, not uncertain. Their arrival can be a sign that God is sending reassurance, a reminder that your fear about provisions is misplaced, that blessings may be approaching, and that baraka can enter your life even through doors you do not see. So ask yourself gently, are these ants appearing at a moment when I am worried about my livelihood? Could their presence be reminding me that Ar-Razak has not forgotten me? As we go deeper, we uncover another message ants may carry, one that speaks not of sustenance, but of the slow, patient labor that shapes destiny. If you watch ants closely, you will notice something extraordinary about them. They work without expectation. They labor without complaint, and they persevere without ever seeking recognition. Their strength is not loud. Their determination is not dramatic. Their journey is made of countless small steps, each one almost invisible, yet together they build a world beneath your feet. In Sufi teachings, this quiet, consistent effort is considered one of the greatest signs of spiritual maturity. For Ibn Arabi, patience was never merely the act of waiting. It was the ability to continue moving Continue striving, continue trusting, even when the results remain unseen. This is why the appearance of ants in your home may be a message about your own relationship with patience and effort. Perhaps you have been working towards something, a goal, a prayer, a healing process, a personal transformation, and you feel as though nothing is changing. Your heart wants results. Your soul wants relief. Your mind wants closure. Yet your life feels stuck in the long, silent middle of the journey. And then, as if placed intentionally in your path, these ants appear, moving with purpose, carrying loads far heavier than their bodies suggest, walking back and forth, without the slightest hesitation. They do not question the value of their work. They do not abandon their task halfway. They do not look for immediate reward. They simply continue. Ibn Arabi once described true effort as the movement of the soul toward what God has already written for you. In other words, your effort does not create your destiny. It reveals it. You are not forcing outcomes. You are uncovering what has been prepared. Think of a woman who has been trying to rebuild her life after a difficult year. She works tirelessly, emotionally, spiritually, financially, yet progress comes slowly. And in that slow progress, doubt begins to whisper, maybe this is pointless. Maybe nothing will change. One morning, she sees ants gathering in a corner of her home. They are moving grain, leaf fragments, dust, pieces of the world that seem insignificant. But she watches them long enough to notice their truth. Nothing they carry is wasted. Every small effort contributes to something meaningful. And in that moment, she realizes that her own efforts, no matter how small, are also being gathered, stored, and written into her future. This is the lesson ants bring. Progress is built by patience, not speed. Transformation happens through steady, repetitive, unseen acts, not sudden leaps. Your role is to keep moving, gently but consistently, trusting that God sees your effort even when the world does not. So if ants have entered your home during a season of struggle, their presence may be telling you, do not give up. Do not rush the process. Do not believe that your effort is insignificant. The seeds you plant now, in silence, in patience, in solitude, may be the foundation of a blessing you cannot yet imagine. And so, a question arises for you to consider. Is there something in your life that requires the kind of patience ants embody? Something you must continue even if the results are not yet visible. As we move forward, the journey takes us deeper still, from effort to the hidden inner world. Because sometimes when ants appear, what they reflect is not your work, but your heart. There is a teaching in Sufi tradition that says, the outer world is a mirror in which the inner world is reflected. In other words, the events unfolding around you often reveal the condition of what is unfolding within you, and when ants enter your home, one of the possible messages they carry is an invitation to look inward, not with fear or superstition, but with honesty and awareness. Ants do not enter every home in the same way, nor do they enter at the same time. Their appearance often aligns with subtle shifts in your emotional or spiritual state. Sometimes they arrive during periods of inner restlessness, sometimes during moments of neglect. Not only neglect of your physical space, but neglect of your heart. They may appear when your inner life has become scattered, when responsibilities have been postponed, when spiritual practices have been weakened, or when the harmony of your household has quietly changed. Consider the atmosphere of a home. The air holds more than scent. It holds the emotional climate. A home filled with gratitude feels different from one filled with tension. A home filled with remembrance feels different from one filled with distraction. A heart filled with clarity sees differently from a heart clouded by worry. When ants appear, their presence may be reflecting the need to restore harmony, both around you and within you. Imagine a household where small frustrations have begun to accumulate. Arguments linger without resolution. Communication grows thin. Prayers are rushed or postponed. Kindness is replaced by overwhelm. Nothing catastrophic is happening, yet something subtle is unraveling. In such moments, signs often appear in forms we would never expect. And suddenly, ants begin to show themselves. Not because the household is dirty, that interpretation is too shallow. In Sufi understanding, the physical simply mirrors the emotional. Ants move toward opportunity, toward imbalance, toward neglected corners, symbolic or literal. Their appearance can gently reveal that something within the household needs attention. Maybe patience needs to be restored. Maybe forgiveness is required. Maybe a neglected responsibility must be revisited. Maybe the heart needs cleansing more than the room. Ibn Arabi often spoke about the human being as a microcosm, a small universe reflecting the greater one. Just as the cosmos contains order, balance, and harmony, the inner world of the human soul requires the same. And when this inner balance is disturbed, signs appear externally to guide us back toward alignment. Ants are not messengers of fear. They are messengers of awareness. Their silent movement may say, "Look within. Something needs your attention. Restore the order you have lost. Reconnect with what truly matters." Ask yourself, has your mind been cluttered with unresolved thoughts? Have you been carrying emotional weight without addressing it? Has your spiritual routine faded into the background of your life? Has the energy of your household become heavy, tense, or scattered? The arrival of ants may be urging you to clear both the seen and the unseen, to tidy not only your space, but your priorities, to remove not only physical clutter, but emotional burdens, to renew not only the arrangement of your home, but the arrangement of your heart. Because once inner harmony is restored, the outer world follows. As we continue deeper, the next sign unveils itself, a sign not of the present moment, but of what lies ahead. For sometimes ants appear to tell you that change is coming and God is preparing you for it. There is a remarkable quality about ants that often goes unnoticed. They prepare long before the need arises. They store before hunger comes. They gather before winter arrives. They build before storms appear. Their entire existence is rooted in foresight, readiness, and silent anticipation. And in Sufi understanding, this quality is not merely biological. It is symbolic. It represents a spiritual truth. God prepares the heart for what is written before the event unfolds. When ants appear in your home, one of the possible signs they carry is this: a new chapter is forming in your life, and God is readying you for it. Preparation is one of the most subtle forms of divine mercy. Most people imagine that blessings arrive suddenly, without warning. But in reality, God often prepares the servant long before the blessing or test appears. Changes in your environment, shifts in your heart, new habits emerging, old patterns dissolving, all of these are part of the preparation. And sometimes, Even the arrival of small creatures like ants is woven into that process. Perhaps you're standing at the edge of a transition without realizing it. A shift in your career, a change in your relationships, a transformation in your spiritual path, a new responsibility on the horizon. The ants may be signaling that the season ahead requires readiness, not fear, but awareness. Think of the way ants move, tirelessly, intentionally, always gathering pieces of the world to build something greater later. They teach you to prepare not through obsession, but through steady action. They remind you that readiness does not mean anxiety. It means alignment. It means strengthening your foundation for what is to come. Imagine a young man struggling with uncertainty about his future. He feels restless, as if something is about to change, but he cannot name it. His days feel like they are shifting beneath him. During this time, he begins to notice ants entering his home. At first, he ignores them, but as they continue to appear, he can't help but wonder why. And slowly, through prayer and reflection, he realizes that if he is being shown signs, it is because God is preparing him. Later, when opportunities arise, opportunities he once felt unready for, he understands the timing. The ants were not a random occurrence. They were a spiritual nudge, a reminder that preparation happens before clarity, and readiness happens before revelation. Ibn Arabi described this type of divine preparation as the unfolding of what the soul already knows, but the mind has not yet understood. In other words, your heart senses change long before your intellect comprehends it. Signs appear around you to help your inner and outer worlds come into alignment. So if ants have appeared in your home, ask yourself, is something shifting within me? Is God preparing me for a new responsibility? Is a blessing on its way that requires emotional, spiritual, or practical readiness? Is a chapter closing so another may finally begin? Preparation is not a warning, it is reassurance. It is God saying, what is coming is meaningful. Get ready. And so with these 5 signs laid before you, order, sustenance, patience, inner reflection, and preparation, the question becomes, how do these meanings shape the way you see the ants that entered your home? And more importantly, how do they shape the way you see your own journey? To answer that, we return once more to the larger truth that Ibn Arabi taught. Nothing appears in your path except by divine design. There comes a moment, often without warning, when you pause and sense that something unusual is unfolding in your life. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just a subtle awareness that small events are beginning to carry weight. This is the moment when signs, which once felt random, begin to form a quiet pattern. This is when the heart starts to recognize meaning woven into the ordinary. It may happen the second or third time you see ants crossing your floor. At first, you brush them away. Then you notice them again. But now, instead of reacting, you find yourself watching. Something in you remembers the teachings you may have once heard. That creation is never silent. That the smallest of creatures may be carrying a message you have overlooked. This shift from reaction to reflection is the beginning of spiritual awakening. For most people, signs pass by unnoticed because they are too focused on external noise, responsibilities, distractions, stress, expectations. Their days move quickly, leaving little room to observe the subtle rhythms of life. But when you begin to slow down, when your heart becomes receptive, even the movement of ants can take on a new depth. Ibn Arabi described this state as the unveiling of the heart, where the inner eye becomes active and the outer world becomes a mirror. He believed that signs do not change, you change. And once your perception shifts, everything around you begins to speak. You may start to piece together the timing. Why did the ants appear on a day when you felt overwhelmed? Why did they come during a week when you were worrying about money? Why did they show themselves at a moment when your home felt imbalanced, or your emotions uncertain, or your future unclear? Patterns begin to form not because the ants are magical, but because your awareness is awakening. Imagine someone who has been struggling with direction in life. Their days feel heavy, their nights restless. They pray for clarity, but no answer seems to come. Then one morning, they notice ants entering the kitchen, a few at first, then more. They clean them away, but the ants return. Soon, the person realizes that the ants are appearing not randomly, but at a moment when their inner life feels scattered. The ants are moving with the discipline the person has lost. They are storing with the foresight the person longs for. They are working with the patience the person is struggling to embody. This realization transforms annoyance into awareness. Sufis teach that signs are not meant to startle you. They are meant to wake you, softly, gently, like a whisper before dawn. And once you begin to notice them, you start to understand that your life is not unfolding in isolation. You are being guided through every detail, through every event, through every creature that crosses your path. This is often the moment when the heart feels something it has not felt in a long time. Alignment, a sense that you are not moving through life alone. A sense that God is speaking to you in ways you had forgotten how to hear. And so the appearance of ants becomes a turning point. What began as an ordinary disturbance becomes a doorway into deeper meaning. You start to realize that their presence was never about them. It was about you, about your state, your journey, your readiness to listen. From here, the path grows clearer. You begin to see that these signs are not isolated symbols, but part of a larger conversation, a conversation that will guide you through the next steps of your spiritual unfolding. And as this awareness deepens, another question forms. If such small creatures can carry a message for you, then what other signs in your life have you been overlooking? To understand the deeper message behind the appearance of ants, you must first understand the one who governs their existence. In Sufi teachings, ants are reflections of a particular divine name, Al-Mudabbir, the one who arranges, manages, and designs all affairs with perfect wisdom. Nothing moves except through his planning. Nothing settles except through his will. And nothing enters your life, not even the smallest creature, without passing through the gate of his arrangement. When ants appear in your home, their presence may be subtly reminding you of this truth, that your life, with all its complexities and unanswered questions, is not unfolding in chaos. It is being arranged, sometimes visibly, often invisibly, by a wisdom far greater than your own. Ants embody this name in an extraordinary way. Their colonies operate with remarkable coordination, efficiency, and organization. Each ant knows its task. Each movement contributes to a larger purpose. They flow like a living river of intention, and none of this occurs by accident. The Sufis would say their order is a reflection of God's order, their discipline a reflection of His decree. When you see them moving across your floor, you are witnessing a small manifestation of how your own life is being orchestrated, even when you feel disorganized, even when your days seem scattered, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. There is an intelligence behind every unfolding moment. Ibn Arabi often reminded his students that God's arrangement is always perfect, even when your understanding is not. He explained that creation moves according to divine timing, not human urgency. This teaching becomes especially relevant when you notice ants, because their presence often coincides with periods when you feel your life slipping out of your control. Perhaps you've been trying to manage too many things at once. Perhaps plans you relied upon have changed, or outcomes you expected have been delayed. Perhaps you feel your life lacks direction or coherence, and then, in the middle of that uncertainty, ants appear, moving with certainty, purpose, and order. It is as if creation is whispering, "Your affairs are not as chaotic as you fear. They are being arranged, even if you cannot yet see the pattern." Imagine a person whose life has entered a season of transition. Their routines are shifting, their goals unclear, their relationships evolving. They pray for guidance, but feel no immediate answer. Then, one afternoon, they see ants entering their home. At first, they feel irritated. But after reflection, something inside them softens. They begin to realize that if such small creatures move according to divine arrangement, then their own life, far more significant, must also be unfolding according to a plan. This realization brings a quiet peace, not because the future becomes predictable, but because the heart begins to trust the one who arranges it. The name Al-Mudabbir teaches you that you are not navigating life alone. You are being guided, prepared, positioned, and supported, even when you feel uncertain, even when circumstances seem scattered, even when the story of your life appears to have loose threads. So, when ants appear, consider this. Maybe your life is not falling apart. Maybe it is being reorganized. Maybe you are being placed into a new arrangement designed specifically for your growth. This is the wisdom behind their arrival. Their movements remind you of a truth your heart may have forgotten. God is arranging your affairs with a precision far greater than your own. And as we move forward, we explore another divine reality reflected in ants, the one tied to sustenance, blessing, and the unseen flow of provision. Among all creatures, ants are perhaps the most striking symbol of risk, sustenance, provision, and the quiet flow of blessings that reach every living being. Their presence has long been associated in Islamic and Sufi tradition with abundance, survival, and the delicate balance of effort and divine generosity. When ants enter your home, one of the clearest signs they may carry is a message about your relationship with provision, how you see it, how you fear it, how you trust it, and how you receive it. The Quran itself reminds us that God provides for all creatures, not only for humans, but for those who crawl, fly, swim, or live hidden beneath the earth. Ants are mentioned for their intelligence and order, but also for their ability to survive with limited resources. They travel far, store whatever they find, and build entire systems underground. Yet never do they act out of fear. Never do they hoard out of anxiety. Their gathering is an act of discipline, not desperation. In this way, ants reflect the divine name Ar-Razak, the provider. Their very existence is a testimony to the fact that sustenance reaches every corner of creation, not because creatures chase it endlessly, but because God sends it in ways that align with their nature. So, when ants appear in your home, it may be signaling an important truth. Your sustenance is on its way. Your fear about provision is misplaced. People often encounter ants during moments when financial stress or uncertainty weighs heavily on their hearts. Bills piling up, unexpected expenses, jobs becoming unstable, income fluctuating. In these moments, the mind becomes crowded with worry and the heart becomes tight. Yet it is precisely in such seasons that signs appear. Signs reminding you that the one who sustains even the smallest creatures is also sustaining you. Ibn Arabi used to say, "Your risk travels toward you with the same certainty your shadow follows your body. You cannot escape it, and you do not need to exhaust yourself trying to chase it. Your effort is needed, but the outcome is already written." Consider a woman burdened with financial stress. She fears losing stability. She worries for her family. She counts every coin, every bill, every upcoming expense. One morning, she notices ants gathering crumbs along the kitchen floor. For a moment, annoyance rises, but then a quiet awareness follows. She watches them, small, fragile creatures with no certainty about tomorrow, yet they gather confidently, trusting the unseen order that supplies their needs. Suddenly, her fear softens. She remembers that the God who sustains them sustains her too. This is the lesson ants bring. Sustenance is not earned by fear. It is received through trust and effort. Baraka does not flow through anxiety. It flows through surrender. Your provision may be expanding in ways you cannot yet perceive. A new opportunity, a restored relationship, a blessing delayed for the perfect moment. Ants appear as a symbolic reassurance. Do not fear. What is yours is coming. Ask yourself, have I been worrying about money more than trusting God? Have I forgotten the countless times sustenance reached me unexpectedly? Am I holding on to fear instead of relying on the provider? When ants appear, they remind you that God's mercy extends even to the smallest of creatures, and that you are no exception. Their presence is not a threat, but a reflection of divine generosity unfolding in your life. As we continue, another dimension opens, one not tied to provision, but to patience, silent strength, and the steady unfolding of destiny. There is a unique heaviness that settles in the heart when a person begins to fear for their sustenance. It is a fear that does not shout, but quietly spreads through the mind, tightening the chest, clouding thoughts, stealing sleep. It is the fear of not having enough, of losing what one depends on, or of facing a future that feels uncertain and unstable. Many people say little about this fear, yet they carry it daily, hidden beneath their responsibilities and routines. It is in such moments that signs often appear. And among these signs, ants are one of the most subtle yet profound. When ants enter your home during a season of financial worry or emotional pressure, their presence may be inviting you to confront not the circumstance itself, but your fear of the circumstance. Fear of provision is not about money alone. It is about your relationship with God, your trust in His timing, and your understanding of His promise. Sufis teach that fear of losing risk is usually a misunderstanding of risk itself. People often believe sustenance comes from their job, their effort, their intelligence, or their opportunities. But Ibn Arabi reminds us, your risk comes from God through people, not from people through God. In other words, the source is always divine, even when the channel appears human. Ants embody this truth. They search tirelessly, yes, but they do not fear scarcity. Their instinctive movement reflects unwavering trust in the unseen order that provides for them. They work because work is their nature, not because they believe their survival depends entirely on their actions. This distinction is the heart of spiritual trust. Imagine a man overwhelmed with financial strain. He counts every bill, fears every expense, and worries constantly about how his future will unfold. He prays, but his heart remains troubled. One afternoon, he notices ants collecting crumbs along the base of the kitchen door. His initial reaction is annoyance, but as he watches their patient, organized movement, something shifts. He remembers that these creatures, so small and fragile, live without certainty of the next hour, yet never fall into despair. They simply act, trusting the flow of provision written for them. This moment softens the fear within him, not because his problems disappear, but because he begins to remember a truth he had forgotten. What is written for you cannot miss you, and what is not written for you cannot reach you. Fear clouds the heart's ability to see this truth. Ants, in their quiet arrival, clear that cloud. They remind you that worry does not increase your sustenance. Panic does not bring solutions faster. Anxiety does not open doors. Fear, in fact, often blocks the flow of barakah that was meant for you, because when the heart tightens, it struggles to receive. When ants appear, consider whether God is sending you reassurance. Do not be afraid of what I have already guaranteed. Do not tie your sustenance to human hands. Tie it to me. Your risk is written with precision, and its path will reach you exactly as I decree. This reflection transforms fear into trust. It shifts the heart from panic to patience, from tightness to openness. Ants appear not to disturb your home, but to awaken your certainty. The certainty that the one who provides for them is the same one who has never once forgotten you. And as we continue, we explore the deeper Sufi understanding of what risk truly is and how it unfolds through both seen and unseen means. In the language of everyday life, risk is often understood as money, salary, income, or material resources. But in the language of Sufism, risk is far more expansive. Ibn Arabi described it as everything that reaches you, everything that benefits you, everything that was written for your soul before you were born. This includes not only wealth, but health, wisdom, companionship, peace, opportunities, spiritual openings, and even the lessons that shape you. Risk is every form of nourishment your soul and body require, and every form arrives with divine precision. This is why the presence of ants in your home may carry a deeper meaning beyond the material. When they appear, they often signal a shift in the flow of provision, not only in what you receive, but in how you understand what provision actually is. Ants do not differentiate between types of sustenance. A crumb, a seed, a grain of sugar, a fragment of bread, each one is accepted as nourishment, gathered carefully and stored with gratitude. To them, every tiny blessing is meaningful. Nothing is wasted, nothing is overlooked. Humans, however, often overlook the blessings they already have. A person may receive emotional support but dismiss it because they are focused on financial gain. Another may experience spiritual clarity but ignore it because they are chasing worldly recognition. Someone may be surrounded by people who love them yet still feel poor because they measure sustenance only through money. The Sufi path widens your vision. It teaches that what nourishes your soul is as essential as what nourishes your body. And often, the arrival of ants is a symbolic reminder of this balance. Imagine a woman who feels spiritually empty. Her heart has grown distant. Her days feel repetitive. She has sustenance in the physical sense, food on the table, income from work. Yet she feels something essential is missing. One day, she notices ants moving toward a small drop of honey left on the counter. She watches them gather around it with precision and eagerness. And suddenly, she realizes these creatures recognize sustenance wherever they find it, even in a single drop. Her heart asks, do I recognize the sustenance in my life? Or have I been blind to the blessings that nourish me in ways money cannot? This is the Sufi understanding of risk. Risk is the conversation that brings you peace. Risk is the moment of insight that heals you. Risk is the friend who shows up when you are overwhelmed. Risk is the prayer that strengthens your heart. Risk is the opportunity you didn't expect. Risk is the test that shapes you into someone stronger. Risk is the small blessing that arrives in a moment you needed it most. Ants remind you of this truth. They do not reject what appears small. They do not search for grand sustenance. They gather whatever reaches them. And through this, they survive, thrive, and build entire communities. So when ants appear in your home, ask yourself, am I recognizing the blessings that already surround me? Am I limiting my understanding of risk? Is God widening my vision of what provision truly means? Because in Sufi understanding, sustenance is not measured by quantity, but by meaning. And sometimes the smallest signs reveal the greatest truths. As we continue, we move from the world of sustenance to the realm of effort and destiny, exploring how ants symbolize the spiritual balance between striving and surrender. One of the most profound qualities reflected in ants is the quiet strength of patience. Not the patience of waiting passively, but the patience of continuing, even when the outcome remains unseen. They move with purpose, yet they do not demand immediate results. They gather small pieces of sustenance, knowing each fragment contributes to a future they cannot fully predict. In this way, ants embody a spiritual truth many people struggle with. The journey often requires patience long before clarity appears. Human beings, by contrast, often wish to see the fruits of their effort immediately. We pray and expect instant relief. We work hard and expect quick results. We face hardship and expect it to end quickly. And when life does not unfold according to our timeline, frustration grows, faith weakens, and impatience begins to color our thoughts. It is often during these inner battles that ants appear, not to solve your problems, but to remind you of something essential. Progress unfolds slowly, quietly, and often invisibly. Ibn Arabi taught that effort is not separate from destiny. It is the pathway through which destiny becomes visible. You do not force what is written, you walk toward it. You take steps again and again, even when the world gives you no sign that you are moving closer. This is the spiritual essence of patience, continuing the journey when the destination remains hidden. Imagine someone striving to heal emotionally after a difficult loss. Weeks pass, months pass. They try to move forward, but the progress feels painfully slow. Their mind fills with doubt. Why am I not healing faster? Why isn't this becoming easier? One morning, they notice ants carrying small grains one by one along the windowsill. Each ant carries something that seems insignificant, a crumb, a sand-like particle of food. Yet each grain contributes to something larger, something meaningful. Suddenly, the person realizes that healing is like this: small acts, small moments, small steps, all accumulating quietly beneath the surface. The progress may be slow, but it is real. It is happening. The Sufis say, patience is recognizing that God is at work even when you cannot see it. This is what ants reflect so beautifully. They move without questioning the value of each step. They trust the process. They trust the accumulation. They trust that their small efforts will create a meaningful result. And they never abandon their task midway simply because progress is not instantly visible. Ask yourself, is there something in your life that requires this kind of patience? Are you in a stage where the results of your effort remain hidden? Has your heart grown tired because you cannot see the outcome yet? If so, the presence of ants may be reminding you that patience is not passive. It is active, intentional, and strong. It is the quiet endurance required to complete a journey you're only just beginning to understand. And just as ants carry loads far greater than their own weight, patience allows you to carry emotional and spiritual burdens more gracefully. It grants you the strength to continue step by step, even when the road ahead is unclear. Because in truth, you do not walk alone. Just as each ant walks with its community, you walk with divine support. You move with the unseen assistance of the one who knows exactly where your steps are leading. As we continue, we turn from patience itself to the deeper metaphysical teaching behind effort, the way destiny and striving intertwine in the Sufi path. There is a delicate balance in life that many people struggle to understand: the relationship between effort and destiny. How much of your life is shaped by your actions, and how much is already written? How much should you strive, and how much should you surrender? Ibn Arabi spent much of his life clarifying this spiritual tension, and his teachings align beautifully with the symbolism of ants. Ants represent a profound harmony between striving and surrender. They work tirelessly, gathering, building, preparing, yet they do not attribute their survival to their own strength. They carry out their tasks with full dedication while trusting completely in the divine order that governs their world. This balance is exactly what humans struggle to embody. Many people live at one of two extremes. Some believe everything depends solely on their effort and exhaust themselves trying to control outcomes. Others surrender entirely, expecting destiny to unfold without participating in the process. But the Sufi path stands in the middle, a place where effort and divine decree dance together. Ibn Arabi explained it this way: your striving is the unveiling of what has already been written for you. In other words, you do not create your destiny. You walk into it. Your actions do not force what is decreed. They reveal it. The path you choose, the effort you invest, the intentions you carry, these are the keys that unlock what was always meant to be yours. Ants reflect this truth beautifully. They do their part. They search, they carry, they build. But they do so without anxiety, without the illusion that their survival rests entirely on their efforts. Their actions are aligned with divine order, not in rebellion against it. They trust that the one who wrote their path provides for them through the work they naturally perform. Think of a person striving to achieve something important, a dream, a career milestone, a spiritual breakthrough, a change in their life. They may pour their heart into the effort, yet the outcome remains uncertain. This uncertainty often leads to fear, frustration, or even hopelessness. Why isn't this happening for me? Am I failing? Is destiny against me? They wonder. But Ibn Arabi would remind such a person, destiny does not oppose you, it shapes you. If the road feels long, perhaps you are being prepared. If the outcome is delayed, perhaps the timing is not yet ripe. If the effort feels heavy, perhaps your soul is being strengthened. Ants carry loads far heavier than themselves, not because they are strong, but because they were designed to handle what appears impossible. In the same way, whatever weight you are carrying in life, emotional, spiritual, or practical, is not placed upon you by accident. You are capable of bearing it. More importantly, you are capable of transforming under its weight. Effort, in the Sufi path, is a form of devotion. It is not about forcing life into your shape, but about offering your intention and work to God, trusting that He will shape the result. The outcome is never in your hands, only the sincerity of your effort is. So when ants appear in your home, reflect upon your own balance between striving and surrender. Ask yourself, am I exhausting myself trying to control what is already written? Or am I abandoning effort and calling it trust? Where is the middle path in my life? The path where I work with purpose and surrender with peace. This understanding leads naturally to the next reflection, where we explore how the discipline of ants mirrors the structure and intention your own life may be calling for. If you observe an ant closely, you will see a creature whose entire existence is built upon quiet discipline. There is no wasted movement, no hesitation, no wandering without purpose. Every step contributes to a larger mission, one that the ant may not fully perceive, but still serves with unwavering dedication. This simple yet profound discipline reflects a deeper spiritual truth. Your life becomes clear when your actions align with intention. Ants do not multitask aimlessly. They do not start a task and abandon it halfway. They do not lose themselves in distraction or doubt. Their discipline is silent, but absolute. Watching them, one realizes how often human effort is diluted, not because the heart lacks desire, but because the mind lacks direction. We begin many things, but complete few. We set goals, but falter halfway. We start our prayers with focus, but end them with wandering thoughts. We hope for progress, but scatter our energy across too many paths. And then ants enter our home, creatures whose entire existence is a lived reminder of purposeful action. Ibn Arabi often emphasized that spiritual growth requires structured effort. He taught that if the heart does not take responsibility for its path, the world will pull it in every direction. Without discipline, even sincere intentions fade. But with discipline, even the smallest action becomes transformative. Ants embody this teaching effortlessly. Imagine someone whose life feels scattered. Their routines are inconsistent. Their work is unfinished. Their spiritual practices are irregular. They feel overwhelmed not because they lack potential, but because their energy flows without structure. One day, they pause to watch ants forming a line across the kitchen floor. Each ant moving steadily, each carrying a small load, each contributing to a shared purpose. The person suddenly sees themselves reflected in this small procession. They realize their life needs a path just as the ants have one. Their effort needs direction just as the ants have direction. This moment is not trivial. It is a spiritual awakening disguised as an ordinary observation. The Sufis say, discipline is the bridge between desire and realization. Without structure, even the most sincere prayers lose their form. Without consistency, even the strongest intentions lose their power. Without commitment, even the greatest dreams remain distant. Ants remind you of the beauty of commitment, not extreme, harsh self-discipline, but gentle, steady, consistent effort. Their discipline is not rooted in fear, but in alignment. They do not question their purpose. They act because it is their nature. And in following their nature, they thrive. Ask yourself, is your effort scattered or focused? Are you constantly starting over because you never committed fully? Is your attention divided between too many things? Do you move with purpose, or do you drift through your days? Sometimes, the presence of ants signals a need to bring order back into your life, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. A need to commit to a path and stay with it. A need to align intentions with action. A need to follow through with what your soul has already chosen. Because when discipline enters your life, clarity follows. And when clarity enters, blessings recognize where to settle. As we move forward, the journey deepens even more. From the structure of your actions to the hidden reflections of your heart. For sometimes, ants appear not because of what you are doing, but because of what you are feeling, what you are holding, and what you must now bring into awareness. There is a principle in Sufi metaphysics that carries immense depth. The world outside you is a mirror of the world within you. This does not mean every event is a direct reflection of a specific emotion. Rather, it means the state of your heart shapes your perception, your reactions, and the lessons life brings forward. And sometimes, ants enter your home during moments when something within you requires attention, something you may have overlooked, postponed, or buried beneath the noise of daily life. Ants gravitate toward opportunity, toward food, warmth, imbalance, or unguarded space. Symbolically, this mirrors the emotional and spiritual gaps that may have formed within you. Perhaps you have been ignoring an inner wound, delaying an important decision, or drifting away from spiritual practices that once brought you peace. Ants appear quietly, not to warn you in fear, but to remind you that something in your inner world is calling for realignment. Consider a household where tension has quietly built over time. Words left unspoken gather like dust. Misunderstandings harden into silence. Kindness becomes scarce. Even if everything appears normal on the surface, the emotional climate shifts. Such a home may begin attracting reflections of that internal imbalance, not through dramatic events, but through small symbolic signs. And often, ants are among the first to appear. Their arrival is not a judgment. It is an invitation. Ibn Arabi explained that the human being is a microcosm, a small universe reflecting the larger cosmos. When internal harmony is disturbed, life brings opportunities for restoration. These opportunities do not always come through people or major events. Sometimes they come through the smallest creatures, crossing your path as reminders of what you have forgotten. Imagine someone who has been carrying silent stress. They function, they smile, they fulfill their duties. but their heart is heavy. Their prayers feel distant, their mind restless, their nights sleepless. Nothing catastrophic has happened, yet something inside feels unsettled. During this period, they begin to notice ants entering their living space. At first, they ignore them, but the ants persist. Eventually, the person sits quietly and wonders why these creatures are appearing now, in this particular season of emotional burden. Slowly, the realization emerges. The ants are mirroring the disturbance within. Not in a superstitious way, but in a symbolic one. Their movement reflects the scattered state of the heart. Their presence highlights the neglected corners of the soul, the unresolved emotions, the spiritual practices left behind, the responsibilities postponed, the inner clutter needing attention. This is the Sufi way of seeing life speaks. The question is whether we are listening. So when ants appear, ask yourself, has something in my heart gone unattended? Have I neglected my inner peace? Is there a spiritual practice I once relied on but have abandoned? Is there emotional clutter that needs clearing? Is there forgiveness I must seek or forgiveness I must give? Ants are not a punishment. They are a reflection, a small, persistent reminder that you are being called back to yourself, called to cleanse what has become heavy, called to restore what has fallen out of alignment, called to bring harmony back into a space that has grown disordered, both within your home and within your soul. And as your awareness deepens, another truth begins to emerge. Ants may not only reflect your current inner state, they may also be preparing you for the future, because sometimes their appearance signals not imbalance, but transition, a new chapter quietly taking shape. In Sufi teachings, one of the most profound realizations a seeker can experience is the understanding that the human being is a microcosm, a complete universe contained within the frame of a single soul. Ibn Arabi described the human as the meeting point of the seen and unseen, a creation in whom the entire cosmos is reflected. In this vision, every event in the outer world resonates with something inside you. Every occurrence becomes a doorway, revealing a truth about your inner state. When ants appear in your home, their presence can be seen through this lens, not as a random event, but as a reflection of a deeper movement within your inner universe. They signal that something inside you is shifting, stirring, or awakening. They may point toward imbalance, yes, but they may also point toward untapped potential, hidden resilience, or a spiritual capacity you have not yet recognized. Just as the cosmos contains order, motion, harmony, and purpose, so too does your inner world. And when the harmony of that inner world shifts, signs appear in the outer world to help you understand what is unfolding beneath the surface. Imagine someone who has begun a quiet inner transformation. They may not speak it aloud, but something in them seeks a new direction, perhaps a deeper connection with God, a renewed commitment to growth, a return to practices they once held dear. Yet outwardly life seems unchanged. It is during such inward transitions that the smallest signs often appear. Ants crossing the threshold may represent the first whisper of that change, a subtle nudge reminding them that movement has already begun within. This is the essence of the microcosm principle. Your outer life mirrors your inner becoming. Ants, by their nature, embody purpose, discipline, and structure. When they show up in your outer world, they may be mirroring the need for these same qualities within your inner world, or they may be reflecting qualities already awakening in you, qualities you may not see yet, but which are beginning to take form. In this understanding, ants do not simply enter your home. They enter your awareness. They cross into your consciousness. They become part of your spiritual unfolding. Ibn Arabi often emphasized that spiritual signs are not placed randomly. They appear precisely according to the inner capacity of the person who sees them. This means that if you are noticing the presence of ants, you are being guided by a meaning tailored specifically for your soul, a message aligned with your current state, your hidden needs, your path forward. This realization opens an entirely new way of seeing your life. Instead of viewing events as isolated or meaningless, you begin to perceive them as part of a coherent divine dialogue, one where every detail, even the movement of ants, speaks to your inner world. Ask yourself, if my inner world is a universe, what are these ants reflecting within it? Is there movement happening in my soul that I have not acknowledged? Is there a transformation beginning beneath the surface of my awareness? Is this a call toward a new spiritual chapter? Because if the human being is a microcosm, then every sign in the outer world is a doorway inward. Ants become symbols of the movement, structure, and possibilities unfolding within your soul. And as we continue, we explore how this reflection may reveal areas in your life, both inner and outer, that now need rebalance, attention, and conscious renewal. There are moments in life when you feel out of balance without knowing why. Your days continue, your responsibilities are met, your conversations flow, yet somewhere within, something feels slightly misaligned. You may not be able to name it, but you sense it, a quiet heaviness, a subtle restlessness, a feeling that your inner world is not in its natural harmony. In Sufi understanding, this inner imbalance does not remain hidden for long. Life has a way of reflecting it back to you through signs, sometimes through people, sometimes through events, and sometimes through the smallest creatures that cross your path. Ants, with their precise movement and instinctual alignment, can be among those reflections. When ants appear in your home during a period of emotional or spiritual imbalance, they may be revealing that your inner structure needs attention. Their presence can symbolize the scattered nature of your thoughts, the unaddressed anxieties in your heart, or the areas of your life where clarity has been lost. Consider the difference between a room that is tidy and one that is cluttered. You move differently in each space. You think differently. You feel differently. The same is true within your soul. When your inner space becomes cluttered with unresolved grief, forgotten responsibilities, neglected prayers, unspoken truths, everything else in your life begins to feel heavier. You may find yourself reacting quickly, losing patience, or feeling spiritually distant. Yet, you may not recognize the cause. Ants can become an unexpected mirror. They reveal that something has been left unattended, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Their movement often gravitates toward places where things have been forgotten, overlooked, or left out of order. Symbolically, they point you toward the inner corners of your heart, where something similar may be happening. Imagine someone who has been carrying quiet emotional burdens for months. They go about their life, appearing functional, even strong, but inside, a heaviness builds. They ignore it, hoping it will fade. Then, almost suddenly, ants begin appearing in their space, moving toward forgotten crumbs, accumulating around small unnoticed details. The person realizes that just as they neglected the small areas of their home, they have also neglected the small areas of their heart. This realization is not meant to frighten. It is meant to awaken. Sufi wisdom teaches that rebalancing begins with awareness. Once you recognize that something is out of alignment, the journey toward harmony becomes possible. Ants may be reminding you to pause, breathe, reflect, and look inward with honesty. Ask yourself, what emotions have I been avoiding? Which responsibilities have I postponed? What spiritual practices have I abandoned or rushed? Where has my inner harmony been disturbed? What must I cleanse, rearrange, or restore in the space of my heart? When you acknowledge these questions, you begin the process of realignment. You reclaim the clarity and peace that imbalance quietly steals. Ants symbolize the restoration of order, the way they organize, the way they move with purpose, the way they transform chaos into structure. Their presence can serve as a gentle nudge from the unseen, reminding you that harmony is not lost. It simply needs to be renewed. And once this inner harmony begins to take shape, another layer of meaning unfolds, one that points not to the present, but to the future. Because sometimes ants appear not only to reflect your current state, but to prepare you for what is coming. There are moments in life when change is approaching long before you can see it. You may not feel it clearly, yet something subtle begins to shift in your thoughts, in your relationships, in your routines, and even in the atmosphere around you. Sufi teachers often say that the soul senses a new chapter before the mind understands it. And sometimes the signs of this approaching transition appear in the smallest, quietest ways, like the arrival of ants in your home. Ants are creatures of foresight. They prepare before the season changes. They gather before scarcity arrives. They build before storms appear. Their entire existence is shaped by readiness, patience, and long-term vision. When they cross into your awareness, their presence may be signaling that you too are entering a time of preparation, a season where God is readying your heart for what is coming. Preparation is one of the most compassionate forms of divine intervention. Before a blessing arrives, God prepares you to receive it. Before a test unfolds, He strengthens your heart. Before a door opens, He aligns your path. And before a chapter begins, He adjusts your inner world so that you can walk into it with clarity and grace. Ants symbolize this divine preparation. Imagine someone whose life is about to shift. A new job, a move, a relationship change, a spiritual awakening, or an opportunity they do not yet know exists. Outwardly, everything seems ordinary, but inwardly, a quiet readiness begins to shape them. They feel drawn toward organizing their life, completing unfinished tasks, improving their habits, or returning to prayers they once neglected. During this period, ants begin to appear in their home. At first, the person sees it as an inconvenience, but with reflection, they realize the timing is too meaningful to dismiss. The ants arrive at the exact moment when preparation is already stirring within them. Their appearance becomes a reflection of what the heart already senses. Something new is approaching. Ibn Arabi described this as the unfolding of destiny within the soul, before it becomes visible in the world. He taught that the heart often knows what the mind has not yet articulated. Signs appear outwardly to help the seeker recognize this inner movement. Ants, with their unwavering determination and quiet preparation carry the wisdom of transition. They may be telling you, get your affairs in order, strengthen your spiritual foundation, clear out what no longer serves you, prepare your heart for what is coming, align your life with purpose before the next step arrives. These are not warnings, they are invitations, gentle reminders that a shift is near and your readiness will shape how you receive it. Ask yourself, have I been feeling the need to reorganize my life for reasons I cannot explain? Is there a sense of change forming quietly in the background of my days? Have doors begun to close or new possibilities begun to appear? Is my heart longing for renewal, direction, or deeper meaning? If so, the presence of ants may be confirming what your soul already knows. A new chapter is unfolding, and God, in His subtle mercy, is preparing you for it. Preparation is never wasted. It shapes you, strengthens you, and aligns you with the path ahead. Ants appear to remind you that what you sow now, in discipline, patience, and trust, will become the foundation of the blessings that await you. In the next section, we will explore how these messages are not isolated symbols, but part of a larger spiritual conversation, one that connects you to the divine names, guiding every moment of your journey. Every life moves through seasons, times of stillness, times of movement, times of gathering, times of letting go. Just as nature shifts through cycles of growth and rest, your soul too transitions through spiritual phases. Yet these transitions rarely happen abruptly. They unfold gradually, subtly, often beneath the surface of your awareness, and before a major shift takes place. God sends signs, gentle reminders that you are entering a new chapter. Among these signs, the appearance of ants can be one of the most profound. Ants embody the wisdom of timing. They do not gather randomly. They gather when the season calls for preparation. They do not store food every day of the year. They store it when the unseen shifts of nature whisper that change is coming. Their intuition is aligned with divine timing, and their movements reflect a harmony with the unseen rhythms of creation. When ants appear in your home during a significant moment of your life, they may be signaling that you too are entering a season of preparation, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Preparation, in the Sufi understanding, is not a burden. It is a mercy. It is God equipping your heart for what He already knows is approaching. Ibn Arabi described this beautifully when he wrote, "Before a door opens in the world, it opens within the heart." This means the inner transformation always precedes the outer event. Long before a new opportunity appears, your soul begins to shift. Long before a blessing arrives, your heart expands to receive it. Long before a test unfolds, your inner strength is quietly being shaped. And sometimes, the ants appear to remind you to pay attention to these inner openings. Imagine someone feeling increasing restlessness, an unexplained desire to clean their home, organize their belongings, simplify their life, renew old practices, or reconnect with God more deeply. They may feel something is changing, though they cannot name it. And then, during this exact period, ants begin appearing. The timing is not random. Ants arrive not only in your physical space, but in your awareness, reflecting the need to prepare inwardly and outwardly. Just as ants gather before the season shifts, you may need to gather strength, wisdom, clarity, or resolve for what is coming. Perhaps God is preparing you for a new opportunity that requires discipline, a blessing that requires gratitude, a challenge that requires strength, a transition that requires clarity, a relationship that requires emotional readiness, a spiritual opening that requires stillness of heart. Preparation is not about predicting the future. It is about aligning yourself with the rhythm of what God has already decreed. Consider how ants never panic as the seasons change. They do not resist the transition. They adjust, they organize, they prepare. Their readiness is an act of harmony with divine timing. You are being invited into that same harmony. Ask yourself, why am I being called to prepare right now? What inner doors are opening within me? What must I let go of to embrace the next stage of my journey? What strengthening is God placing quietly within my heart? When you see ants in this light, their presence becomes comforting rather than inconvenient. They are small messengers reflecting a divine truth. The next chapter is already forming, and God is guiding you gently toward it. In the next section, we explore how the qualities of ants, readiness, foresight, structure, mirror the deeper lessons God wants you to carry into this new season. If you watch ants long enough, you begin to see qualities in them that mirror the spiritual virtues every seeker needs. They are small, yet their presence carries extraordinary wisdom. They move quietly, yet their actions have powerful meaning. They prepare without fear, work without complaint, and trust without hesitation. In their simple existence lies a treasury of lessons about readiness, foresight, and silent strength. Ants embody the truth that strength does not always appear loud. Often, true strength is quiet, steady, and persistent. A strength rooted not in force but in resilience, not in size but in purpose. When ants appear during a season of transition in your life, they may be showing you a model of how to move through that season with dignity and patience. Consider the way ants prepare. They store small pieces of food, often crumbs that seem insignificant to the human eye. But these small pieces, gathered consistently, sustain their entire community. Their readiness is not based on fear, but on wisdom, on recognizing that preparation empowers them to survive the unknown without panic. This mirrors a powerful spiritual truth. Preparation is the foundation of inner peace. Many people fear the uncertain future because they feel unprepared. They worry because their inner world lacks structure. They feel overwhelmed because their emotional or spiritual foundation has grown weak. Ants remind you that readiness does not come from predicting the future, but from strengthening yourself in the present. Imagine someone beginning a new phase of life without realizing it. New responsibilities, a new relationship, a new spiritual calling, or a new stage of personal growth. They feel a quiet inner push to become more organized, more patient, or more intentional. They sense they must gather themselves emotionally, spiritually, mentally before stepping forward. And during this time, ants begin appearing in their home. Symbolically, the ants are saying, prepare, but do not fear. Gather strength, but do not rush. Build quietly without announcing your journey to the world. Small steps taken consistently are more powerful than big steps taken rarely. This is the beauty of their wisdom. Ants also teach foresight and awareness of timing. They know when to act and when to rest, when to gather and when to wait. They move with the rhythm of creation, not against it. Their life is a testimony to divine timing, showing that every action has its season. For you, this foresight may mean recognizing when you need to let go of an old habit, Strengthen your inner foundation. Reconnect with prayer. Prepare emotionally for change. Organize your priorities. Release what no longer serves your soul. These are not grand gestures. They are small acts, just like the crumbs ants carry, small but life-changing when gathered consistently. And finally, ants embody silent strength, a strength that does not seek recognition. They do not move to impress. They do not demand acknowledgement. Their power comes from humility, unity, and purpose. In Sufi thought, this is the highest form of strength, the strength that comes from walking one's path quietly, sincerely, and with full trust in God. So when ants appear, ask yourself, what strength is God cultivating within me? What preparation must I embrace? What small steps can I begin taking today to align my life with the future He is preparing for me? Because in the presence of ants lies a profound reminder. The journey ahead may be vast, but you are being prepared for it one small, steady step at a time. As we move forward, we will explore how the presence of ants reflects not only spiritual virtues, but also the manifestation of specific divine names, the attributes of God that reveal themselves through even the tiniest creatures. In Sufi teachings, every event, every creature, and every movement in existence is a reflection of God's attributes, His divine names. Nothing in creation lives outside this truth. Even the smallest beings carry within them a trace of divine wisdom, a subtle imprint of the qualities through which the Creator sustains and governs the universe. When ants appear in your home, their presence may be revealing not only symbolic lessons, but also reflections of the divine names active in your life at that moment. Among these names, 3 shine prominently through the behavior and nature of ants: Al-Hakim, the most wise; Al-Basir, the all-seeing; and Ar-Razak, the provider. Together, they form a powerful spiritual message, one that speaks of wisdom, awareness, and sustenance unfolding in perfect balance. Al-Hakim, the most wise ants, move with remarkable intelligence and coordination. Their routes are purposeful, their tasks organized, their communities structured with precise roles. None of this is random. It is a reflection of Al-Hakim, the one whose wisdom permeates every detail of creation. When ants appear in your home, they may be reminding you that your life, too, is unfolding according to divine wisdom, even in moments when you cannot understand the reason behind certain events. You may be questioning a delay, a setback, or a change in your life, but the ants teach you that wisdom is often hidden in small details. Sometimes God's plan reveals itself slowly through subtle signs rather than through dramatic revelations. Al-Basir, the all-seeing ants, see what we overlook. They detect what is hidden. They move with awareness, sensing what lies ahead long before we notice it. Their behavior reflects the presence of Al-Basir, the one who sees every movement in your life, every emotion in your heart, every fear you carry, every hope you hold. Nothing escapes his sight, not even the silent battles within you. When ants appear, they may be reminding you that God sees you, even when you feel unseen. He knows the burdens you carry quietly. He knows the effort you make in private. He knows the prayers you whisper at night. The arrival of ants might be gently telling you, you are seen, you are not alone. Every detail of your life is under divine care. Ar-Razak, the provider among all creatures, ants are a living reflection of Ar-Razak. They gather sustenance in ways that seem miraculous, finding provision in the smallest places. Their presence is a reminder that your sustenance is written, and it will reach you in ways you may never expect. God provides for the smallest of creatures with perfect precision. How much more will He provide for you? If you have been worried about finances, opportunities, or stability, the ants may be a sign that the flow of provision is opening or shifting, and that fear should not cloud your trust. A divine conversation through signs. When these divine names appear together, the message is holistic. Your life is unfolding with wisdom, Al-Hakim. You are constantly under divine watchfulness, Al-Basir. Your sustenance is guaranteed and delivered, Ar-Razak. Ants do not appear merely as insects crawling on the ground. They emerge as reflections of these names, reminding you of truths your heart may have forgotten. Ask yourself, where is Al-Hakim guiding me with wisdom I have not yet understood? Where does Al-Basir see me struggling, even in silence? Where is Ar-Razak sending sustenance that I have not recognized? When you begin to read signs through the divine names, the world around you transforms. Every event becomes meaningful. Every creature becomes a reminder. Every moment becomes a verse from God written into your life. As we continue forward, we will return to the heart of the journey, how the simple appearance of ants can reshape your understanding of the present moment and deepen your awareness of the unseen wisdom guiding your path. By now, the appearance of ants in your home is no longer simply an ordinary event. Something has shifted in your perception. What once seemed like a small household inconvenience has unfolded into an entire spiritual conversation. And when you return to that moment, the very first time you saw those ants, you now see it with a different inner eye. This is the essence of Sufi awakening. Same event, new vision. Before, you may have seen ants as something to remove or ignore. Now, you may see them as a sign, a reminder, a reflection, a whisper from the unseen world, one tailored specifically to your journey. The ants did not change. You changed. Your awareness expanded, your heart softened, your perception deepened. And this shift of perception is one of the greatest spiritual transformations a person can experience. Ibn Arabi taught that the world does not change because you gain knowledge. The world changes because your heart gains clarity. A clear heart sees meaning where others see randomness. A clear heart sees divine wisdom where others see inconvenience. A clear heart reads signs written into creation like verses flowing through existence. When you return to the moment of noticing the ants, what do you see now? Perhaps you see order, the lesson that your life needs structure and purpose. Perhaps you see sustenance, the reminder that God provides in ways both seen and unseen. Perhaps you see patience, the call to continue your journey even when the results are hidden. Perhaps you see inner reflection, a mirror revealing the parts of your heart that need healing. Perhaps you see preparation, the sign that a new chapter is already forming in your life. Whatever you see now, it is richer than before, because you are no longer looking only with your physical eyes. You are looking with the eye of the heart. Imagine a person who, just days before, would have dismissed ants as a common occurrence. Now, they pause, they watch, they breathe, they reflect. They feel something stirring at their chest, a sense of presence, of connection, of being guided. They realize that for the first time in a long while, they are paying attention. This act of paying attention is a form of worship, It is a form of remembrance. It is a form of gratitude. The prophet taught that God is found in the subtle and the small just as much as in the great and the obvious. The Sufis expanded this truth, saying, "Every creature is a sign if the heart is awake." In this awakened state, the ants become more than insects. They become symbols of your spiritual path, small, humble companions guiding you toward awareness. They remind you that God's communication is not limited to dreams or sacred texts, but extends through all of creation, in every moment, through every sign. Now, as you stand at this point of reflection, a deeper question emerges. What will you do with this awareness? Recognizing a sign is only the beginning. The next step is integration, allowing the insight to shape your choices, your habits, your inner discipline, your trust, your preparation, your relationship with God. When you see ants now, you see meaning, you see wisdom, you see divine timing. You see a message crafted uniquely for you, and with this new vision, you begin to walk differently, more aware, more reflective, more connected, more aligned. This is not just about ants. It is about learning to read the language of your life. As we continue, we move toward the next reflection: how the presence of ants connects directly to your personal journey, your specific path, your unique challenges, and the inner meanings unfolding within your soul. By now, the presence of ants has transformed from a simple observation into a layered spiritual reality. But the heart of the matter lies here. What does it mean for you? Not for others, not in general symbolic theory, but for your life, your path, your struggles, your prayers, your inner state. Every sign God places in your world is tailored to your individual story, shaped precisely for the moment you are living. Sufi wisdom teaches that signs do not speak in universal sentences. They speak in personal languages. Two people may witness the same event, yet one sees nothing while the other feels a message unfolding within. This is because God addresses each soul according to its readiness, its need, and its unique path. So when ants appear in your home, the question is not simply, what do ants symbolize? The question is, why now? And why me? Perhaps you have been struggling to find order in your life. Responsibilities feel scattered. Your mind feels heavy. Your routines have slipped. If this is your state, then the ants may be calling you toward structure, toward reorganizing your priorities, rebalancing your days, and returning to the practices that once gave your soul clarity. Or maybe your fear has been centered around provision. You've worried about money, stability, or the future. You've questioned whether you will have enough. If this resonates, the ants may be reminding you of the presence of Ar-Razak, the provider, inviting you to trust more deeply, to release your anxiety, to remember that sustenance finds its way to every creature by divine decree. Perhaps your challenge is patience. You've been striving for so long toward healing, success, forgiveness, a goal, or a prayer, and the results seem distant. The ants may be encouraging you to continue to persist quietly, to understand that great transformations often begin with small steps carried out consistently. Or maybe the sign is more inward. Perhaps the appearance of ants reflects your emotional or spiritual imbalance, the areas of your heart that have been neglected, the corners of your soul that need tending. In this case, the ants may be gently guiding you toward introspection, calling you to clear what has become cluttered inside. And finally, perhaps You are standing at the threshold of a new season without realizing it. A shift is approaching, a chapter is forming, a transition is unfolding. The ants may be signaling preparation, encouraging you to strengthen your inner foundation, organize your life, and ready yourself for what God is bringing. Each interpretation is not mutually exclusive. Your life is complex, layered, full of movement. The message of the ants may be touching several parts of your journey at once. Ask yourself, what have I been struggling with recently? What have I been praying for? What have I avoided confronting? What change have I sensed but not yet named? What emotion has been silently growing inside me? What whisper from God has been following me through my days? When you answer these questions honestly, the meaning of the sign becomes clearer. Ants may be small, but the meaning behind their presence is vast, because it is shaped by your personal relationship with the Creator. God does not send signs randomly. He sends them strategically, gently, and precisely, often through the quietest corners of your life. You're not being asked to interpret the entire universe. You are only being asked to pay attention to your life. And as you integrate this understanding, you approach the final realization of this journey. Ants are not just insects. They are part of a universal truth woven into existence, that God speaks to you through everything, if you are willing to listen. If there is one truth that echoes through every Sufi teaching, it is this: life is not happening to you. Life is speaking to you. Every moment, every event, every encounter, whether joyful or difficult, grand or subtle, is part of a continuous conversation between the Creator and the created. And when ants appear in your home, their presence becomes a small yet profound verse within that divine conversation. At first glance, their arrival seems insignificant. Tiny bodies moving in silence, almost invisible to the pace of daily life. But when you look deeper, when you allow your heart to soften and your awareness to expand, you begin to see that these small creatures carry a message far greater than their size. They invite you to pause, reflect, and recognize the spiritual dimension woven into even the most ordinary moments. Ibn Arabi taught that God communicates through everything, not just words, not just scripture, not just dreams, but through creation itself. Every creature, he said, carries a trace of the divine wisdom that brought it into existence. To ignore these signs is to close your heart to the conversation God is continually extending. Ants, in their simplicity, become teachers. They teach you the importance of order, reminding you that your life flows smoothly when your inner and outer worlds are aligned. They teach you trust, showing you that sustenance is already written and fear only clouds the clarity of your soul. They teach you patience, demonstrating that great outcomes are built through small, steady steps you may not notice at first. They teach you self-awareness, revealing the corners of your heart that need attention. They teach you preparation, signaling that God may be shaping you for a season you have not yet entered. These lessons are not abstract. They are real, present, and intimately connected to your personal journey. Imagine how different life becomes when you begin to see events not as coincidences, but as intentional, meaningful interactions. You start to recognize that the wisdom you seek often arrives quietly, that God answers in small ways long before the big answers come. That guidance is everywhere, not only in moments of clarity, but also in moments of confusion, not only in grand blessings, but in tiny creatures moving across your floor. This understanding transforms your relationship with the world. You begin to listen more, to reflect more, to breathe deeply when life presents you with a moment you do not understand. Instead of reacting with annoyance or fear, you respond with curiosity and awareness. You begin to trust that even the simplest occurrences contain divine wisdom. And perhaps the greatest realization is this: you are never navigating life alone. God is guiding you, shaping you, and speaking to you through everything you encounter, even through ants. The ants do not appear with thunder or warning. They arrive quietly. Like many of the most powerful spiritual messages, their presence is subtle, but their meaning is expansive. They remind you that God is closer than you realize, present in the details, guiding you in ways you may have overlooked. So the universal lesson is simple yet profound. Pay attention. Your life is filled with signs. Your journey is filled with messages. And the one who created you is always communicating. Through nature, through events, through people, through silence, and even through the smallest of creatures. The real question becomes, are you willing to pause long enough to hear what life is saying to you? As we move into the outro, this reflection becomes your invitation, not only to understand the sign, but to live with a heart open to the wisdom unfolding all around you. As you reach this point in the journey, take a moment to breathe and return to the simple truth we explored together. Even the smallest events in your life can carry meaning. Even the tiniest creatures can become mirrors for your heart. And even the most ordinary moments can reveal extraordinary wisdom if you are willing to see. So now the question turns toward you. Have you ever experienced a small sign in your own life that later revealed a deeper meaning? Maybe it was an encounter, a moment of silence, a shift in your home, or something as subtle as the arrival of ants. Whatever it was, your reflection might be the reminder someone else needs today. If a part of this message touched your heart, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Your story could become a light for another traveler on this path. And if you'd like to continue exploring the hidden signs and spiritual wisdom woven into everyday life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Voice of Sufism, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a new reflection. More journeys await you on the screen now. Gentle reminders, deeper insights, and stories crafted to guide your soul back to awareness. Until the next reflection, may your heart stay open, your steps stay steady, and may you always recognize the signs placed lovingly in your path.